to me, a boat, moving it, servicing it, selling all that, that's the easy part. It's doing something that somebody says, hey, man, that touched me somehow or another, or that made a difference in my family. To me, that's where the rubber meets the road. So that's where my heart is. And so I want to tell you a little bit about how we got to where we are and why we do things the way we do, and why we want to make a difference in people's lives through this business. My dad always used to say that we're not in the boat business, we're in the people business. We just happen to be selling boats. He was all about the people. And so my mom and dad, they opened up here January 2nd of '74. My mom and dad both dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. My mom had my oldest sister when my mom was 15. I was the third child when mom was 19. So we grew up with our parents, sort of, okay? And my mom's brother and his partner, they started and owned a company called Dixie Boat Works. I don't know if you've heard, but this was back in the 50s when they started it up in Newton. And crazy story how that happened. But anyway, my dad went to work there, and he worked there for like 18 years. And he worked his way up from manufacturing on through up into sales. And so Dixie Boat Works, they used to supply Duke Power with boats for all their different lakes. So they had a real close relationship with the folks at Duke Power. Carl Blades and Norman Cox. Norman Cox is who they named Lake Norman after. They were CEO and president of Duke Power. And they knew those guys up there because they were ending up there buying boats and stuff. And Duke Power used to own this property. And my uncle, Melvin, and his partner Cliff that owned Dixie, they had a piece of property that Duke Power wanted. So they traded. And that's how this land became to be owned by Dixie Boat Works. And at some point in time back in the early 70s, they said, well, you know, Lake Norman's going to be more than a mud hole. Let's put a marina down there. So they built a boathouse down here, and then in '73, they built this building. And my dad was a third partner in the company, not the real estate. My uncle and his partner who owned Dixie, they owned the real estate. So Dad, we had a boat, and he had to sell his boat to help come up with the $7,500. That's how much he invested initially to help start this business. And, you know, they worked 7 days a week. And my mom built upholstery for Dixie boats in our backyard. There was actually my grandma's in the backyard next door. And so my mom did that. And then at nights she made cakes for weddings and birthdays and stuff. And, you know, we just were getting by, you know. And so we ended up here. Mom continued to make Dixie boat seats, and she was the bookkeeper. 10th grade education, that was our bookkeeper. You know, that's like, well, this is going to be good. But obviously it was very simple. I've got some of the early documents of the boat sales we made back in the early 70s, and there wasn't anything to it. You know, they just hand wrote them on a little receipt, and that was it. No loans, no titles, no registration. I mean, it's just, yeah, wasn't much to it. Yeah, I thought it interesting. We sold a boat not too long ago that the selling price of that boat was as much as Dad did the first year he was open.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But so anyway, you know, things, you know, just happened. We got into opened up in '74. We were selling just Dixie. My uncle told Dad, said, as long as you sell Dixies and only Dixies, I'll send you all the boats you want, and you just pay for them when you sell them. You order all the boats you want. You can stack boats everywhere, and you just pay for them when you sell them, as long as you sell nothing but Dixies. So they had problems. Dixie did in the early '80s, and we took on another brand, and things started to transition. And I'll never forget in '79 and '80, and you may remember, maybe, but and I know John probably does, interest rates went to 19, 20, 21%. And it was bad. It was really bad. And my dad used to have a little burgundy couch right there. That's why I put a red couch there. He had a little burgundy couch. He paid $50 for it. And bought it at a yard sale or something. And what I remember about that couch was, in 1980, nobody was buying boats. Interest rates were 20, 21%. And it was bad. It was really bad. And it was December, January. And we had no money. The banks had cut us off. And I tell people that we were broke and out of business, but we just wasn't smart enough to know it. We had a key, so we kept coming to it. You know? And my mom sat on that little couch. One of the few times I saw my mom cry. She was a very, very strong lady. And she sat right there and cried because it was over. And somehow or another, we got into the Charlotte Boat Show, and we sold 3 boats. We were a craft dealer at the time. I remember we had a 1980 Ski Nautique white with tan letters, I'll never forget. And people bought them, and they took delivery right away. We got a little money, and we made it to spring, and we survived. And so we went through a couple of those, actually. That one was the worst. But you know, they hung in here, Mom and Dad, just working to death. So my dad, with no education, people look at that and they're like, well, how did he do this, right? Because, you know, you need a college education, right? So, you know, what I tell people is the 2 things my dad had was he had an incredible work ethic. I mean, he just was crazy, his work ethic. He was balanced with it, you know, his family and everything. But and my dad just loved people. And John knew him. I mean, he didn't love everybody, don't get me wrong. And if he didn't love you, you probably knew it. He was kind enough to tell you that he did.
I've heard some.
Yeah. But he was a fun guy, and he loved people. And that's what he built this business on, was just working really, really hard and just loving people. So